There's too many of you crying. Oh, brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. You know we gotta find a way to bring some life in here today. Father, 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 there's no need to escalate. Oh, 'cause water's not the answer, and only love can conquer hate. You know we gotta find a way to bring some understanding here today. Pick a line and pick a side. Sister, don't you punish me, sister, with brutality. Sister, come on and talk to me, sister, so you can see, yeah, what's going on. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? I wanna know what's going on, yeah. Hang up there. Walk up to Father, 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 everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, but who are the two judges? Yeah, we can all be strong. You know we gotta find a way to bring some understanding. Oh, and pick a side. Sister, don't you punish me, sister, brutality. Sister, come on and talk to me, sister, so you can see, yeah, what's going on. Oh, what's going on, yeah. What's going on? Oh, what's going on? Y'all want to sing along? What's going on? Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
Thanks, y'all.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Welcome to Making It with me, your host, Terry Wollman. Well, thank you for that. And we are here at NAMM with a live audience, which you can hear. And we're also streaming live, so thank you to everybody out here and everybody who's watching out from your computers right now. Just so you know, I created this show to focus on what it takes to have a lasting career in the ever-changing landscape of the music business. And I've invited two of my friends, both wonderful artists, to talk about social media today. To talk about music, to talk about life, which is really what the show's about, but we're going to focus on social media today because both of these artists use it to the best advantage and really have fun with it and really have a great understanding of it. So let me introduce you. Emily Elbert.
Hi, everybody.
Has played in over 1,200 independent shows in over 13 countries around the world. And her fifth solo album is We Who Believe in Freedom. It was released in October of last year. So it's as far as I'm concerned, it's a brand new album, and it's an album worth checking out. And it's a socially conscious album, as well as a beautifully produced and written and performed album. I really have been enjoying it.
Appreciate it.
Jamie Glaser has played with some of the biggest names in music. You just play with legends nonstop your whole career. Jean-Luc Ponty, Chick Corea, Manhattan Transfer, Shaka Khan. You can hear Jamie's music on the Super Bowl. You just stayed up all night to write a couple of. You're still up. You haven't been asleep yet for the new Super Bowl coming up. So any of that crazy screaming rock guitar stuff is co-written and produced and played by Jamie. Jamie's also an author of a wonderful book called Hear the Silence. I wanted to talk about that as well. Both my guests are experts in social media, so I want to start by asking you, what do you think the biggest misconception is of social media and how we're all supposed to be using it?
Well, I often come up against sort of the ideas sometimes of there's a tendency or temptation with social media that it can kind of monopolize your thinking and your time and take you out of the real world, and that it has to be kind of superficial. And I actually don't think either of those things are true, and that it could be more of a disconnecting force than a connective force. And I think all of those can actually, the opposite can be true. I think it can be an incredible way to actually connect with real community and develop real relationships. And I think you can find healthy relationships with it, and I think it's just an incredible way to share your music and your humanity and connect with people. So I don't think it has to be superficial or monopolizing or anything like that at all. I think there's some real beauty in it.
It is very personal for me as well.
Yeah, totally.
And I know one of the things that you've told me when we've spoken previously is that when you know that you're going to a city or a country, then you reach out to more people, and the community embraces you. You end up doing house concerts and meeting new musicians and borrowing gear and collaborating and writing. So
it can be a huge community builder for sure. Yeah.
Jamie, for you, what's your perspective on social media?
I think the misconception, the biggest one, is that musicians think that Facebook and other platforms are free, and they're not. And however, the biggest advantage is that when we spend our money, since we're not using record companies and publishers and so forth, is that when you know what you're doing, it can be very, very effective. I mean, a thing like a Facebook pixel, for those of you who know what that is basically a cookie. So when we do advertising, we'll go back and we retarget the people who have shown an interest to our niche, right? Other people are wasting tons of money and they're not getting any reaction at all. And other people say, if I'm going to put my CD on or my new album on Facebook, everybody's going to love it, which I call the mommy syndrome. Mommy loves my album. The truth of the matter is that when in the 1980s, when you and I first met, I was spending $2,000 a month on a PR person in Hollywood just to keep my name going in the studios. And that's how I got Spielberg and Disney and all the stuff that I was doing, that you were doing, that we still do.
And so that was of great value to you at the time.
It was great value. And now you can spend $100 on Facebook and do the same thing.
Right. It's like having a personal publicist in a way.
For me, I love social media. I think it's incredible.
Well, one of the reasons I asked you to do this with us, both of you, because you were both so involved in it, is that you also, besides doing your own social media, you run Jean-Luc Ponty's social media marketing platform and strategy, and you also do that for other artists as well.
I do. One of our artists is out here, smooth jazz, Eric Bayak, Frank Colon, amazing percussionist. Thank you all for coming. And those of you on Facebook watching, thank you. Yes, and the thing is that musicians were not trained to do marketing and advertising. You're right-brained, we create.
Right.
And we always had a lot of people who are unscrupulous people running our affairs. And now that we're in control of that, we need someone honest to help each other. So yes, I started a company 5 years ago, and I don't just do musicians at all. I have real estate people and chiropractors and all kinds of people. And I basically tell them, stop wasting time. We'll do it the right way, and it's worked out very well for everybody, I think.
So where did you both learn? Did you learn, because we all coincidentally went to Berkeley at different times. We were there
Yes.
more or less at the same time.
What year did you graduate?
79, I think, or 80.
You're a baby.
80. I'm a baby?
Yeah.
Thank you
77.
for that. That's cute.
Oh, I'm feeling like an
But,
old guy.
you know, we certainly didn't learn that in school. Did you learn it in school, or have you been both
Not
learning
really.
guerrilla style?
Although
on
I
your
do
own?
think they teach it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was sort of just on the cusp where I'm not necessarily a digital native, like
Right.
people even just a handful of years younger than me are, but I'm also, social media kind of came out when I was around my college years, or
So
more extensively. I had, Facebook came out like when I was that age.
So I guess my more targeted question to each of
Yeah.
you, starting with you, is, how exactly did you learn, and what do you think the most important thing is that you've learned about social media?
I mean, I think that I never necessarily, especially early on, I didn't make like a conscious effort.
You just started
with any of that
figuring
stuff.
it out.
Well, and it is it's a part of my social world too, and the way I connect to community, musical community, and friends all around the world. And so I think there's just like sort of a natural modeling that happens when you look at your peers and the way that people interact with different systems, and just the way that people communicate. So I think some of that happened like subconscious modeling, social modeling. But in more recent years, I've put more thought into how I want to interact with different people and different platforms. And I mean, for example, like I use Instagram and Facebook the most, and on both of those, there's a million different ways to interact with it. Like it's super choose your own adventure, really. And for me, like, it can range from super confessional and personal and vulnerable and live streams and all this stuff to occasional glimpses into the mystery of the artist, and I'm somewhere in between. But it's an amazing way to share. Like I really like sharing just like homemade clips of behind the scenes stuff or music in my room that doesn't have to be super well funded or anything like that. And so that's a particular way that I feel like resonates with kind of who I am and my approach and people that I play for. So,
which is, I enjoy when you do that, because that's how I
Thanks.
discovered you.
Cool.
It was a friend of ours, John Robinson, JR, the drummer.
So rad.
He saw one of your videos and he posted it, and it ended up on my feed, and I saw it and I went, well, that's kind of badass. I really liked your approach. And and started looking into what you did, and then reached out to you, and now we're friends.
Yeah.
So case in point, that's how it works, because it was personal.
Totally.
It was you and a guitar sitting in your room playing and just being you.
That's a funny one too, because that's the most played video. That video has like had more momentum than anything I've ever put out. And like I've saved money
Right,
and tried to I've
produced some
like
things.
produced things, and I've recruited all my friends,
Right.
and I've put all this effort into certain recordings. And it, of course, at the end of the day, is like a 60-second clip that I did at like 9 p.m. in my bedroom on a whim.
Right.
That's the thing that gets like a million and whatever. And it's
Right.
like, well, sometimes people want something that's vulnerable and personal and off the cuff.
And honest.
Yeah, and honest, for sure.
Do you find that, Jamie, like that honesty really travels?
Positively,
That's
the honesty. And when I was a kid, I used to collect Beatle cards, the band The Beatles.
Yeah.
And I would read the back, would give just a little glimpse into
That's
what
right.
John Lennon did.
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
And nothing's really changed. The thing is that
You're right.
in the 90s, I had a little problem after the earthquake, which you know about. And I decided when I came out of it that the rest of my life would be to serve others.
Right.
Because that's what I've dedicated my life to.
Yeah.
And so I began to go to CSUN to take business courses. I started to pay for thousands and thousands of dollars to gurus on social media and internet marketing, SEO people,
Right.
to learn. Because I wrote down a list. I said, what is it my fellow musicians and artists and singers don't usually do? And that was that they don't know about advertising. They don't know about business. They don't know about marketing.
Right.
Everybody always either did it for us or screwed us, right?
Or both.
Or both, actually. So I became interested in that, and it's working out very well, I think. And plus, it's a way for me to be connected to great artists
Right.
and great people who are doing great things.
Yeah.
So it's when I really come down on my personal time, I start to think, boy, this is a bit selfish. Because now I know great people that I wouldn't know before, except that they're calling me 20 hours a day
Right.
to post their pictures. Hey, Jamie, are you awake? All day long. But yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
So when you're both on the road, which you both travel a lot, with Jamie, with your band, or with Jean-Luc Ponty most recently. And Emily, well, you've actually been out with other artists as well as a featured artist. So the three of us have that in common. We go out as solo artists and we go out
Side people.
as side people. Thank you. And but the thing is, how do you balance that when you're traveling? And do you consider that? Do you schedule it in as part of your work? Like, do you make sure you try to post like a thank you at the end of the night before you go to bed, or a picture, or where you're going tomorrow, or how do you integrate that into your daily schedule? You know, along with all the other 10,000 things we do, you feeding your pets and
I have my pets on the road.
Right, that's true.
Oh, you do?
I don't.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The fans are bringing chinchilla food to the tour bus.
That's
which is
great. Anyway, so starting with you, Emily.
Yeah, for me, it's occasionally I'll sit down and like map things out if there's a lot going on, and I know that things will slip through the cracks or whatever. Occasionally, I'll kind of give myself a roadmap. Generally speaking, like I have kind of a lighthearted relationship with it, so.
That sounds healthy.
Yeah, I try and keep it healthy.
And by the way, that lighthearted relationship basically attracts over 1 million views for some of your videos. So
Occasionally.
But I mean, so again, it's back to the honesty and being.
Yeah.
Just finding your own way of making it work for you.
For sure. And I think there's something to that, like tying it back into this too, but like your personality shines through so much. And so there's some times where I schedule things out a little bit more just because I want to make sure that, you know, I'm putting music out there and staying connected. But I don't regiment it too much because I want it to feel personal.
Right.
And yeah, it's a mixture, you know. Sometimes I share musical clips, sometimes it's behind the scenes, sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's, you know, asking questions or thanking folks or whatever, you know, community involvement.
But for both of you, when you ask questions, do you find that it attracts more interaction from your fans and followers and friends?
If it feels authentic, then yeah.
Not manipulative.
Yeah, totally.
Not, hey, Facebook family.
Yeah, exactly. What are you up to today? Tell me in a comment. No.
Content is very important on your pages. So, in fact, it's the old way of it's me. This is my new album. It doesn't work after a while.
For sure.
You want people to know that you are also human.
Yeah, it's transparent.
And even you know, with all of my clients, we post their link every 2 days. And we do content, whether it's theirs or somebody else's. You know, I'm recently working now with a guy who was in a band with Keith Emerson, Robert Berry. And he's got T-shirts and albums and stuff, and we balance it out, 2 posts a day, because otherwise we either become like salespeople, or the human connection is not there. You know? So that's, you know, what Emily was talking about is right on. As far as scheduling, when I was on the road, I had 9 clients and Ponty, and I was playing, so there was little sleep. I learned how to meditate, which helps, truly does.
Good.
And the other thing is I have a few $1,000s worth of software, so I schedule out my posts. So right now, I'm not in Utah where I live now, and all the clients have posts going all weekend long. I have someone who works for me, and he's responding. So I can go to the beach.
And by the way, that person lives in another city. They're not in
South
Utah.
Carolina.
Right.
Cool.
So you're not limited to it being geographically convenient.
Totally.
No.
Well, that's the central thing to this whole thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Good
exactly.
point.
That's a central component, I should say. It's like it makes the world so small.
It makes it
really
small.
does.
It makes
And
it wonderful.
but-
I could tell you both that on this last tour with Jean-Luc Ponty, there's a resurgence with fusion and prog. We did amazingly well. Lines out the door, everything sold out. And the sweetest part of that tour were the dozens, in fact, at one gig in Detroit, we had 9,000 people. I had over 200 people coming to say hello because of Facebook. They were standing outside. I mean, like, I wasn't joking. People are bringing me parrot food, chinchilla food, whatever I promote on Facebook. Fortunately,
So sweet.
you know, and that just shows that we all have a need to be loved. It's not just we're the performer, love us.
Right.
Yeah.
We need to love them back.
Yeah.
And so social media gives us an opportunity to love our fans back and to show that we care about the world. It's a lot deeper than here's my new CD.
Right.
In my opinion.
Well, I personally, as an artist, find it boring just to always be talking about me.
For sure.
I lose
like you,
interest
though.
pretty
I
quickly.
like to only talk about you.
Well,
Yeah,
but it's more
That's cool,
appropriate.
I'm
Yeah,
down.
you guys can talk about me. But I mean, you know, that's part of the reason I took on hosting this radio show, making it, was because it allows me the opportunity to talk about other things that I'm fascinated by, which are other artists and other people doing interesting and beautiful things with their life that are meaningful. So it sounds like we all, through whatever the medium is that we're choosing, sort of the mission statement is the same. It's about connectivity with people around the world. It's about selflessness. In that way, we get to be selfish, and we do benefit from that. But I think that's the perfect way to be selfish, you know, is in sharing other people's stories or sharing things that are important. Like, you know, I find it just as interesting to hear you talk about, you know, a yoga thing or a meditation thing, or you with meditating, or your pets, or business things. It's because it's all the same. Yeah. You know, it makes us who we are.
We get to be on a great show by one of the world's greatest musicians. So
thank you.
So this is an honor, and I've been friends with you for a long time.
Yeah.
And when I come on your show, I want to actually hear about you, but you're interviewing me. So
Right.
It gets to be confusing. I'm going to have to do a radio show. Just get that information. And Emily, she rocks.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys, thank you.
So tell everybody where they can find your website, Jamie, and then Emily.
Hello. If it's for social media, it's JG, like my name, Jamie Glaser, JG-smedia.com. Just a landing page. All the information about what we do is there. Otherwise, it's jamieglaser.com.
And Emily?
Mine, EmilyElbert.com is my website, and most things, I mean, if you punch in my name, it'll show up.
Yeah.
It's all pretty easy to find,
Right.
Likewise, yeah.
I want to thank you again. I'm Terry Wollman. We are on Making It with Terry Wollman with Emily Elbert and Jamie Glaser. And we're at the NAMM show. Thank you so much for joining us. And why don't we play out?
Sure.
Take it. We'll follow you.
Jam back on Ida.
Sure.
Minute.